There we go.
There he is.
All right, we're live.
That's
doing
right.
well. There you go. CannoliSasquatch, Whiskeybanger, drinking his beer. Is that whiskey? It's not whiskey. Okay, it's beer.
This time.
Okay, well, that's all right. You're Irish. You're allowed to drink any alcohol you want. Back for episode number 2.
Number 2, my friend.
Whiskey. What the hell's the name of our podcast? Whiskey and Cannoli's podcast. Holy shit, it's been a long day. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man.
This is what I'm drinking.
Wow.
It's the caffeinated apple.
Oh,
You know,
sounds
I don't drink
delicious.
alcohol. I eat cannolis. I don't drink alcohol. All right. Well, shit, man. I think we should first, before I'm going to share this real quick.
What is wrong with my hat, Tim?
What is wrong? Is he commenting already?
Already.
Oh, I got something for Tim. Tim, hold on. You ready? There you go, Tim. I'm gonna put a little. Look at these cool graphics I got on the bottom now.
Dude, you're basically a professional.
Professional asshole.
That too.
Yeah. So I wanted to start. I don't know if you've heard this story. I did this on the stream yesterday about this whole AOC where she got attacked outside the cap. Can we just add this in real quick? I have to watch this again.
Absolutely.
AOC, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Well, we're gonna get copyright for that, but anyway, that has to be the greatest thing I've ever seen on Twitter. And then here's the reaction that I think. I gotta find it now. Hold on. This was the funniest. So we knew about that video, right? We knew about all the how she took it way out of context, which is typical for AOC, right?
Of course. You can see it in her eyes, dude.
My favorite was
Big
this.
juicy booty. Look at that big ass. Look at that big juicy booty. Look at that ass.
I'm sorry, I had to start off with that. Anyway, yeah, so that wanted to be my starting point because that was the funniest shit I saw yesterday. And how she took it out of context and her reaction to this. And I know I talked about this yesterday, but this is trending so much. She's fucking insane. Like, she goes into this whole thing about, oh, he attacked me in the Capitol Police. They playing the victim as always, right? Is AOC's motto. I got to give her credit. Like I said yesterday, she's turned her fucking craziness into an amazing political career. I don't know how the hell this happened. Like, how could somebody that stupid, or what does that say about, never mind. We're not gonna but like, for that, and then she's going on about how, like, she was attacked and this guy was racist, sexual stuff, and I'm sitting here going, and then she gets on, does another video about how the Capitol Police can't protect you and how they basically just allowed everybody to walk into the building January 6th and all this stuff. So in a way, she kind of like hurt all this bullshit she used to talk about with the January 6th and how the people attacked. Now she's basically admitting what everybody knew is that the Capitol Police didn't do their job and kind of just very conveniently let everybody come into the building, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, come on in, take pictures.
Just take pictures, walk around. No big deal. Nobody's going to get hurt, right? So in a roundabout way, she kind of pulled the 180 on herself, and then she gets on another Twitter thing here or TikTok, whatever the hell it is, and she goes on to this diatribe about how the Capitol Police don't protect us, and we knew what she was trying to say. Like, if it was another politician of another ethnicity, maybe they would have stepped in. But the funny part about this, Tanner, is that she was making it like she was literally attacked, and it was so vile, but yet she poses with a peace sign and goes, I'm taking a selfie. She, as her quote, I am taking a selfie. So it was an opportunity for her, which she's all about opportunity. This woman is nuts. This woman is fucking nuts. It's insane. Sorry, I know you're going to say something. Go ahead.
What I don't understand is what made it racist.
Well, because he called her Latina, which is not racist. No, because that's what she is, right?
She is, right? Like, if somebody came up to me and said I had a bootylicious white boy butt, is that racist? No, it's
well, you
not.
do. Well, number one, you do.
I do squats. So,
I've mentioned this to Cassie before, but yeah, no, I it's just crazy that the craziness. But like I said, man, as stupid as she is, look how far she's gotten with this. It's amazing.
she's just.
Now, I don't know. I don't know what that says about the people that vote for her. We're not going to go there yet, but we got some things to talk about. So there was that. The first thing with you, I wanted to talk about, or let's go through this real quick. So I know you're a big Resident Evil fan, gaming, right?
Oh, yes.
Probably one of your favorite franchises of all time.
I would say overall, it's probably like number 2 franchise.
Okay, that's fair. Great games. Let me fix my camera real quick. Great games. Huge following in the video game industry. Now, there's been adaptations to try to make this into a movie for a long time, and the movies were terrible. I don't know how you screw this up, but you did. So now there's a new TV show. I didn't even know this was out. I don't know about you. There was a new show that just came out, the first season of Resident Evil on Netflix. First of all, if it's a Netflix adaptation of anything already, red flags are going up.
For sure.
Because it's going to either be woke or it's going to be swapping characters out. So look at this shit, Tanner. So I hear about IGN, who literally is probably one of the worst freaking websites on the internet. They rate movies when they should just be sticking to video games, and their video game content is terrible. But they give this show like a 9 out of 10, saying it's the most authentic, closest thing we've gotten to a Resident Evil series, and the characters are great. And I'm going to show you this. Does that look like a great show to you?
21%.
That's what sticks out to me is the audience score. Like, look at some of these. I mean, now, being a Resident Evil fan of the video game, I mean, look at this. Now, the critics are one thing, because we really don't give a shit about the critics, but like a 21% by the audience. I mean, look at this. Waste of time, has little or nothing to do with the original Resident Evil franchise. I heard one person yesterday that I follow say that it made the original movies with, what's the chick's name? Mila
Jovovich,
look like masterpieces.
Which they are absolutely not. They're trash.
No, they're terrible movies. What is Tim asking already? What's your favorite whiskeybanger? Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, if inquiring minds would like to know, my go-to is Jack Daniels, because it's
Jack Daniels.
It's Jack Daniels. Come on.
Yeah.
I also like Bullet. I also like. God, geez, Tim, you put me on the spot.
No, what is this bullshit?
We'll just go with those two for now.
All right. So Jack, okay. I think most people would pick Jack. I don't know if any other I'm pretty sure there's other whiskeys in your home country that I don't even know about that are talked about.
Yeah, like there's see, now I'm drawing a total blank.
Yeah, well, this is
Tim, my brain was set for Resident Evil. Now
we're talking. I'm sorry, I did maneuver us away. Because I'm sorry, I read the comment, and you know how Tim is. He's like a child. If you don't attend to him quick enough,
I'm surprised he didn't start blowing up the phone.
Well, that's coming next.
Answer me.
Talk to me. Well, and he won't come on the show.
I still don't understand why.
Well, I don't know. Well, in his defense, I probably know why, and I'm gonna try to. Hold on a second. I screwed something. Whoa. A lot of audio. You hear it. Hold on.
I can hear it. I need to see it.
I got to move this. I'm sorry. This is what happens when you make me take control of things. Here, let's do this. I'm going to remove this for a second. I'm going to try to... this is what happens when you put me in control of the controls. Hold on one second here. I'm going to try to move this over and replay it. I'll work on that while you tried to murder my child. What is he talking about? This is your friend, by the way. Just remember that.
I mean, he did just blow up the phone.
He did.
Yeah, I'm blowing up the phone now. ... I'm going to get Tanner a Jack Daniels candle. Sir, if you do that, you will forever be indebted in my life.
Yeah. It's a good point. But anyway, back to this. Like, it's insane that how do you screw this up? And I want to get like your thought on that, and then also, I mean, this too. This is one of the most intriguing things about this is this, and this kind of explains a lot. I mean, why?
Dude.
And it's not, you know what it is? I don't even mind the actor playing him. He's been in stuff. John Wick franchise. He's been good, right?
Yeah, he was in Fringe. Like, he's a good actor.
He's a good actor. You know, and listen, as far as the actors themselves taking jobs, if they're offered a job, they're going to take a job, right?
For sure.
What is the point of this? Like, and then they go into this whole thing here about, I don't know, like basically, like they were not almost forced to do it, but people, okay, the games were fantastic. They haven't made a good adaptation. Why is it so hard to make an adaptation of a good? You have the source material, you have this great franchise. Why is it so tough for them to get this right?
I feel like the biggest problem that they run into is the games are incredible. Like, not all of them, but like most of the games are incredible. The games are a little disjointed though.
Sure.
It's not like one. So if you were going to do like a movie, it would have to be based off of just one game. And in order to do that, most of the Resident Evil games are, you know, survival horror, kind of gory zombies.
Right.
You know, there's some whimsical stuff here and there, but I feel like a lot of movie producers, executives, they're going to play it too simple.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they don't want to go too far, because if you do, the average fan isn't going to want to see it, because they're going to be like, what is this nonsense? But a diehard fan like me would love it. Right. I mean, look at what happened with Witcher. I was super excited for Witcher.
And they casted The Witcher himself, I think, perfectly. At first, I was hesitant, but I was like, oh, when you see the guy, he's like, this is him. This is Geralt Rivera. Everybody else, yeah, even some of the other characters, they didn't do a bad job on, but some of the ones they swapped out, it makes no goddamn sense to me. It's just so weird. And
they took Triss Marigold, who's like a pretty key character,
huge
in the books, in the game, Witcher 3. She's a redhead, freckle-faced, pale-skinned white woman.
Right.
And in the show, they got this kind of, you know, I don't want to assume, but she's some kind of mixed racial. She does have freckles, though, so I'll give them that. They did a good job there.
They got that right. Yeah.
Right.
They try to get her hair reddish, I guess, like a little kind of.
In season 2, they lightened up her hair, because in season 1 she had like dark brown hair and freckles, and then
I remember that.
Season 2, all of a sudden she had kind of a reddish, like auburn hair.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, just take what they did with The Witcher and just go ahead, copy paste, and it's going to be Resident Evil.
Well, that's the problem with these, and then if you say anything about it, then you're called horrible shit, because, well, you know, what do you care? Why is it important? Well, it's important because truth matters, right? So you're sticking to the source material that's true,
for sure.
And it shouldn't be a problem. And again, like, I'm trying to think of a time where they did maybe swap out characters in a movie or race swap people, and I didn't mind it. Can't think of anything right now, but like for something like this, though, it's a little awkward. Especially based off of a series. Now we're seeing this with the Lord of the Rings show coming out for Amazon that I got copyrighted on, by the way. I was showing that human being. And you know, there's this whole thing, and it goes back to the Star Wars franchise, because if you notice, remember when The Last Jedi came out, and the director, I forgot his name, Rian Johnson or whatever his name was, said he wanted to just kind of go against the grain, do something different that nobody's ever seen, and fans had a huge backlash. And you know, now this whole toxic fandom term is thrown around. Now you're seeing it with Lord of the Rings now, with the show, that it's based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, not based off the book.
Yeah, not the book.
Off the works. And they even say it in an interview, or the showrunners, like they took what they thought he might do, and now they're turning the whole show into a shit show. I mean, it's the most expensive show ever created, I think. I think it was, I don't even know how much it cost. They got 5 seasons that they want to do. And I was like easily over $1 billion an episode for this. And it looks like a Game of Thrones ripoff. It doesn't look like Lord of the Rings. The characters don't look like anything like elves or dwarves. And by the way, you have different kind. They don't even call them dwarves anymore. I forgot what their actual label is in this show. And who is I know you might know this, the elf, was she the elf queen in the original Lord, the Cate Blanchett?
Yeah, Cate Blanchett.
Yeah, I forgot what I can't believe this is kind of based on her character. Like, she was a warrior and she led troops into battle. And it's like, where did that come from? And then following other people that I watch on YouTube, this guy Nerdrotic, who's literally a nerd about this stuff. He's like deep into this stuff. Had a video about it today on his channel. And he was like, this has nothing to do with the original character. This wasn't written in any books. And they just made it this, like, on Eldaron, the head elf guy, whatever his name was, the guy who played Agent Smith character, that guy. He's in this as a younger version of himself, and the young character that plays him looks terrible. Tanner, he looks like an asshole. He looks like a, I'm gonna say he looks like a female that switches sides. That kind of haircut.
Okay.
When you go look it up, he looks terrible. And of course, I think Galadriel is her name or something like that. And she basically tells him, "Oh, you haven't seen what I've seen. I'm going to lead these people," like putting him down, putting him in his place, the man in his place. It's just a lot of that. The costumes look like community theater high school shit for $1 billion episode show. And then again, the fandom. It's all the best part of the show is they have a line from. Do you remember in the first movie where they're doing the flashback of how the hell's the bad guy's name? I am getting old. So, the main guy, the ring guy, the bad guy, the main bad guy with the eye. Sauron. Jesus, thank God you're here. Dude, this is what I'm aging right here. Sauron, the guy that's with his father that cuts the ring off of his finger, like that guy. He's in this show, and he goes, his one line, this is true for most franchises these days, how people feel. He said, basically, the past is dead, let it go. And it's such a dig to me to the old Lord of the Rings fan base, the old movies. Like, just let it go. It's over. This is new. I mean, it's infuriating to see. And they started with The Last Jedi. They tried to change it, and then they didn't know how to finish the Rise of Skywalker, which probably was the worst Star Wars movie ever made. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like, this fan, what is it with toxic fan? Like, what is that? That term comes up now because people want based off the original source material. It's fucking insane. I don't know. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I hate when someone who is a tried and true fan of something, anything, comic book, video game, movie, story, and a director has a completely different vision for it.
Right.
Takes the source material, throws it right out the window, and then if you don't like it as the diehard fan, you're just, racist, misogynist.
You're misogynist. You're the
word in there, any adjective to describe you in current day,
right?
Our current day climate,
right?
And it's like, but why? I mean, going back to Resident Evil, like Wesker is a pretty predominant character.
Yep.
For those who don't know, he starts out as one of the team members for Stars. He ends up becoming a bad guy.
Yeah.
And they end up having to fight him. And it goes on for a couple of games. So for someone like me who owns all the games, plays all the games,
love the games,
I know what he looks like. Like when I picture Albert Wesker, I basically picture Iceman from Top Gun. That's what he looks like. He's got the blonde slick back hair. He's got the shades on. Like, that's who he looks like to me. And you were scrolling a little bit ago showing what the new character is the actor playing that character is going to look like.
I'll bring it back up. Here you go. Does that look anything alike?
No, and it's like, I don't want to take anything away from that actor. We spoke about it earlier. He's a good actor. I like him in Fringe, like you said, in John Wick. He's a great character. Great actor. You don't look like Albert Wesker. Sorry, you don't.
That's the whole point. It's nothing derogatory towards anybody. And like I said, I like this guy. I don't blame her for taking the work. But when It's just for the sake of doing something, just to do it to appease people, and it never works. It never works.
Right.
Because what happens is that these people end up ruining the shows, and then if you don't like the show, then that's when you're labeled the racist, the bad guy. I mean, this is terrible. I mean, look at this. Some of this, the writing is terrible. Girls have no common sense at all. Well, I'm not going to go there, but we all know that's kind of true, right? No. This show is for people who have limited intelligence. It's like, and then you got the one guy here who was like, "Oh, this is great. You know, do you guys really want a game of roaming hallways and finding clues?" Well, if you want to follow the path, like you could do that. I understand you don't want a whole show like that, but you could do that and make it suspenseful, like the game. The games do a great job with atmosphere. Even the last one, Village, which I only played a little bit of, fantastic. You're in this mansion with the girl with the ghost with the big boobs.
The
9 foot tall witch with giant, milkers, as they call them. But they do a great job of atmosphere. And like you said, I understand it's hard to take. They're disjointed. It's hard to kind of push everything into one. You want to kind of expand things, but just take it off based off the Zootopia porn this person wrote. What does that have to do with anything? I mean, it's different. It's a good, different reboot. Okay. Well, then my problem with all this, and I gotta get with you on some Batman stuff here, because you're gonna love this stuff with the Batman. Oh no, you're gonna love this. Just don't stop changing shit. I mean, and here's another example as to why, when you leave stuff alone, you do it well. It does well. Look at this.
Perfect example.
And one thing about Tom Cruise, you can say what you want about his personal matters, the Scientology stuff. The guy is a great movie star. He knows what people want to see. And for this movie to be doing the numbers that it's still doing, I think it surpassed Titanic. I love this. The non-woke sequel. I mean, it's sad when you have to start putting shit like this into your articles. Yep. I mean, I know it's a Daily Wire, but still.
Well, what I love about Maverick, not only is it's an excellent movie. Okay, so anybody watching who hasn't seen it, go freaking see it. It's an awesome
see movie. Top Gun Maverick before it comes out of the theater, which will never happen now.
Yeah. So the thing that I love about the movie and that they do so well is, like you said, you just highlighted right there. It's the non-woke sequel. But when you watch the movie, there's a female of color, there's a couple of black guys, there's a Latino guy, there's an Asian guy, there's a white guy, there's another white guy. So it's like...
Well, let me ask you this. Being in the military, is that pretty common anyway for the military to have a hodgepodge of just a mix of diverse people?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example...
But they don't make it a point.
No. So I'll just say this. In my... battalion, we didn't have any women in my battalion, so I'll just say that it was an all-male infantry unit, so we didn't have any female soldiers. But if you looked at across the board, like we were standing in a formation, I mean, there were people from all over the world. I mean, we had guys in our company from Fiji, from Tonga, we had a guy from New Zealand, we had a guy from Guam, a guy from Russia, which was very suspect. We called him KGB. It's kind of sketch, but shout out to you, Karpinski. If I
like that. I like that.
But no, I mean, to answer your question, like there's people from all over the world, all backgrounds, rich, poor, white, black, brown. You know, people who were like parents were immigrants, they themselves were immigrants. So in a movie like Maverick, it makes sense. Like,
sure.
But what I loved about it is that they didn't push anything, right? There wasn't any kind of like underlying message of, look at us, we're being, diverse. And no, it was just a bunch of badass fighter pilots.
And they had to work together.
And they worked together as a team. Like that's how a movie should be done.
No favoritism. There was no feminist message even Jennifer Gardner's character, for a second you worry about, she's going to upstage Cruise and tell him that he's a piece of shit and this and that. But no, she grounded him. And I think it was just well written, well done, and a very simple story. We've talked about this. Very simple, nothing too complex. But again, it was a movie that surprised the hell out of me because after how good the original was, how much I like it, and that could be just nostalgia, but
well, the original is incredible. So let's
the movie, the original is great, but no, a lot of people think this movie was better as a movie, objectively, like it was a better put together movie. The first one I love. I said Jennifer Connelly, isn't that who was?
You said Jennifer Gardner, but I knew who you meant.
Jennifer. Okay, well, I'm not thinking of is that Alias that she was on?
Yeah, it's Alias. And
I'm old. Oh, by the way, Tim has a question. I'm going to post this. Tim has this question for you, Tanner.
The guy from Fiji. Did I ask about the water? I did, and Fiji water is actually not from Fiji. So,
but it's
very disappointing.
Just don't forget, Tim, that you're short. So. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, in general, this is just something that, and you know what the funny thing is, this is great for us, great for the movie industry, but people are still not going to buy into the fact that this works. It's still going to be, we got to push our agenda, we got to push our message. It's just the way it is. And by the way, Disney today, their stock did go down a little bit. It went a little bit back up before trading ended, or before the end of the day. Not trading ended, but before the end of the day. But they're suffering, man. And then, they have this Ms. Marvel show, right? It's the 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, the highest rated Marvel show ever. It's not even in the top 10 in Disney Plus's ratings anymore, or views, because the show sucks. And they knew it sucked, and they put it behind the Obi-Wan show, which also sucked, but they buried it behind that show. So it came on literally right after that show, which tells you everything you know. Thanks for the backup. Yeah, well, listen, like I said, I'm old. Jennifer Connelly, whatever. I actually like Jennifer Connelly, though. She was good in that movie.
I like both Jennifers. Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner's not a bad person, no.
Did you ever see the movie Peppermint?
I did end up seeing Peppermint. I liked it actually more than I thought I would. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the greatest movie, but for just an action revenge movie, it was fine. It was fine. Yeah. By the way, it's raining outside. Just in case.
It's getting wild out here.
It's a little loud.
You live like 2 miles away from me.
Yeah, I know. We could literally just handshake each other from across the room. All right, so somebody suggested here that while we got that out of the way, we probably should have did this in the beginning of the show. Nobody knows who the hell we are, obviously. This is new. So maybe to get to know us a little bit better, do a little bit of a background, some context of who the hell we are, where we're from, why Tanner is so good looking and I'm not, and why he has fuckboy hair. But not tonight, though.
Not tonight.
No. So I guess, do you want to flip a coin and see who starts this? Do you want me to start? Just do some brief information. I mean, I don't have to get too much into the background. We'll do that over time. But it's up to you. I leave this to you because you're the one drinking, so I don't know how drunk you're going to get by the end of the show.
I'm going to have you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, because I feel like you have an idea of what you want to say.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say. I really don't have much. I mean, you probably have more interesting stories because you've lived in a crazy life already in your
a little bit.
38 years? How old are you again? 38?
I'm 38. I'll be 39 in December.
Such a young man. Such a young man, you bastard.
You know,
Tanner is a light. See, are you going to take this shit, Tanner? You going to take this?
Tanner is a lightweight, bro.
Oh, wait. Here, this is from Jamie. This is great.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, do Italians really get full is the question, too. I don't know, because the food just keeps coming. And you know that now, Tanner. Married to mostly, well, what is she, half Italian? But she's still, that's her thing. And she's a great cook, too. I know you do most of the cooking, too, right now. But do Italian people really get full? Or does they just keep getting force-fed? Start there, and then we'll get into the bios. All right.
Force-fed, bro.
That's a very good point. That's why I used to weigh 400 pounds, by the way. So we're gonna go. Are we sure Tanner is Irish?
Bro, my last name is Moore.
His last name is Moore. He's got, what is it? Swede?
Yeah, my mom is Swiss. And my dad's side of the family is Irish.
Oh, he's the hot chocolate whiskey drinking. Ask your old 400-pound friend. Yeah, I know. That's what we were just talking about.
Dude, the guy did.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna have some conversation about what happened to me a couple of years, almost 2 years ago now, and how.
Hey, we should talk about it because we both had a scare like 2 years ago.
Well, let's okay. Well, we'll you know what? We'll do that now. We'll work that into our bios. So, Everybody knows me. The Cannoli. Let's start with the name. The CannoliSasquatch name came from this man here, Whiskeybanger. We used to work at a place together, which we're definitely going to get into later. We won't name the company, but we're going to name the employees. But we're going to name some. We're going to have some fun with that, and Tim's going to help us. So we worked together for a while, almost a year, right? It was about a year we worked together at that place. And the way Tanner left is just epic. But yeah, so we worked there, and we pretty much hit it off right away, I would think. I knew Tim first, right? And then Tim got me the job. And then how I knew I was going to get along with Tanner initially is Tim sent Tanner a picture of me being an asshole at another job Tim and I work at. And Tanner's basically response was, "Oh, we're going to get along fine." So I was like, awesome. Got there, first day at work. I was nervous as hell. It's an industry I didn't know. Very nervous, very shy. I know I don't come across that way on YouTube, but I was very shy.
You don't.
No. And then he took me in right away, man. He was a good leader. He showed me the ropes. And pretty much from day one, it was pretty much, hey, hang in our little circle here. And here we are doing a podcast together. What is it, 4 years later now? Something like that? Maybe
2016
more.
is when we met.
Okay, so more than that then.
No, it was like 2017.
2017. So yeah, about 4 or 5 years.
I was there for about a year before you showed up.
Okay. So it's been a long time since we've known each other, though. It's been a while. What is anyway? Tim's so stupid. He keeps.
First off, Tim Gilbert is an English last name.
Thank you.
It is derived from Germanic language.
See, this is
not
why
Germany. So get your shit right, bro.
The best comment, right? Here we go. We're gonna get into this. We'll get into this story. We got stories. Listen to people. We got stories, not just news. But we have personal stuff too. So anyway, let's get into this. So CannoliSasquatch came from me. I forgot exactly how it happened, but I think Tanner literally just one day said, "Oh, you're like a Sasquatch, and you're Italian. You like cannolis. You're the CannoliSasquatch."
Yeah.
And it kind of stuck with me, and then it became my gamer tag, and then so on. So just recently, though, when we decided to talk about doing this, he said, your name on the show has to be CannoliSasquatch. I said, great. Yeah. So anyway, that's how the name got derived. Whiskeybanger is an old story Tanner will tell you about because, like I said, he's lived a life, and he'll tell you where he got his name from. There are many nicknames. Something about horses and penises, that's another story for another time. But anyway, so originally born in Brooklyn, New York, moved here when I was 11 to Arizona. Been here ever since. So I am full-blooded Italian. I am a quarter Sicilian. I know some Italians get crazy and they're like, "Oh, that's not really Italian. It's part of whatever. It's all Italian to me." I do have a wife. I got a daughter, so that's why I have gray hair. And obviously, I'm losing some of it. No, they're great people. But anyway, so I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, the same neighborhood that Sammy Gravano lived in, who's Sammy the Bull, for those of you who know who that is. I did see some interesting stuff. My father's a retired police officer, New York cop for over 20 years back there. And then we moved here because at that time, in I believe 1990, New York was just a fucking nightmare. David Dinkins, who I don't know, nobody knows who that was. Before Giuliani took over, they had a terrible mayor in there. Crime was 2,000 homicides a year, something like that. It was a mess. So he's like, I'm going there. Well, he came to Arizona in February one year, and it was 75 degrees, and it was like 10 below back there. He goes, yeah, we're moving. Came home. Was like, oh, my mom, we're moving.
Never looked back.
Yeah. So eventually we moved a couple of years later. Yeah, I really like nothing too exciting. Nothing like what Tanner's going to will tell you about his life. He's been through some stuff. And for me, it was just a matter of just moving here, and then just really doing just the day-to-day shit, school, working, and then eventually just found my way to this podcast, ironically, with the advantages that we have in technology and just tired of sitting on the sidelines. It's kind of a quick bio real quick. We'll get into more details of other stuff that's happened to us. But like I said, Tanner's got more of a background, and I hate to put him on the spot, but I don't. But he's been through some shit, but not to get into that, but he's seen things around the world and he's been through a lot. So yeah, as far as me, that's where the name came from. That's where my background's from. So unfortunately, I root for a lot of shitty sports teams. I am a big Met fan. Giants, I still root for, even though I hate the Mets. Yeah, go Mets, which I think they're winning right now. Actually. And then take the shirt off, you won't. Tim wants you to take me or Tanner to take the shirt off. I mean, I might have lost a lot of weight, but I ain't gonna look good. I tell you that much. So yeah, just a little background. You know, I was always interested in broadcasting. I just never took the risk because that's just how I was. A lot of things in life that I just kind of stood on the sidelines and took the safe route, which not afraid to admit. Until I met this asshole. And then one thing about Tanner you'll learn is that he's, you know, it's good to take risks, and that goes to not just him, but to my boss too, Craig. He's awesome like that. They're both very similar in a lot of ways, and they both definitely were in my corner for this, and then I got him to join me. So this has been great. But yeah, so used to be a fat Italian man, moved here, and here we are. And like I said, we'll get into more details. But Tanner, I'm going to put you on the spot now. That's how you gain viewers. You first, Tim. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So where do I begin? So born and raised in Phoenix. Yeah, lived here pretty much my whole life. The only time I didn't live here was when I was in the military. I was in the Army. After I got out of the Army, I was working at a company, which again, we're not going to.
No, we're not going to name names, no.
But it is in the firearms industry. Right. So, you know, I kind of gravitated towards it with my background in the military. I was also a police officer for a while. Screw that job. Never again. So, yeah, screw that. So, yeah, your dad, Greg, is a saint.
And that's in that city especially. I don't know how.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Phoenix is bad enough.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine New York City back in like the 70s and 80s. Screw that.
It's rough.
So anyway, we were working at this company. Well, actually, you know what? Let's pump the brakes here for a second. I'm gonna bring the Filipino meatball in this.
Oh, you mean that? Oh, you mean this guy? Tim is short.
Yeah, Tim is short. Go ahead and throw it up there. There it is. Okay. So I grew up down the street from my friend John, right. And John, I introduced him to his wife, Danny, who is the Filipino meatball's sister. So you're welcome, John, for me introducing you to your freaking wife. So yeah, I met Tim. God, he was probably I think he was 14 or 15 when I met him. I was like 18 or 19. I think I was 19 when I met him because that's when John started dating Danny. So yeah. Right. So I was 19 when I first met Tim, and we were more like acquaintances back then. Like we'd see each other here and there. And then we started seeing each other more and more, like hung out a couple times. And then one day I get a call from this clown and he's like, "Hey man, like, do you want to come work for this company that I'm working at?" And I'm like,
that's exactly how you would say it too, right?
Hey, dude, man. And it was so vague. It was like, he didn't tell me what it was, didn't tell me anything about it. That's Tim. I'm like, okay, well, I don't even know where you work. So he finally explained and told me where he worked. And I'm like, actually, that's a perfect, like, that fits me perfectly.
Right.
Like, I have a background, firearms. Like, it's just something that I enjoy. Like, I'm a gun guy. I'm a big Second Amendment guy.
Sure.
Yeah. Like Tim said right now, sophomore in high school. Sounds about right.
Right.
So then Tim, since he brought it up earlier about the day I had an interview at that company. So I'm sitting out in the parking lot waiting for this interview with Amanda. You know Amanda.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and Tim's like, "Dude, where you at, bro? Where you at? You're late. Your freaking meeting, your interview meeting was like a half an hour ago." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Holy shit. Keeping in mind, it was like August, right? Hot as shit.
Right.
It's like 110, 115 outside, humid. And this fucking ass clown's like making me sprint, like because it wasn't the parking lot at the company. It was like the parking lot across the street.
Across the street. Yeah, I remember that part.
So like I sprint in there like, oh my God, I'm freaking late. Holy crap. And I'm freaking doused in sweat. I got freaking pit stains everywhere. Just a hot mess. So I go in there and I'm like, so technically I was like 15 minutes early for what was scheduled for my interview. And I look like a hot mess when I walk in there, and they're like, "Oh, you're not scheduled for another like 10 or 15 minutes." I'm like, "This fucking piece of shit, dude."
Yeah, that's Tim.
So yeah, that's how like Tim and I started working together. Now, fast forward about a year and a half later, Greg showed up, and that's how I met Greg for the first time because I didn't get invited to Tim's wedding. So
yeah, that's we've talked about this for years, by the way, Tim. And I don't want to hear the invitation was sent to your parents. Was it, Tanner? It was sent to your mom.
It's my mom and dad's house,
Yeah.
which I asked them about it, and they said no. So
suspect.
That's very suspect. I don't know what else to say.
I was invited.
Yeah, like I would have met. I would have met freaking CannoliSasquatch. What
years before we did?
It would have been like 3,
at least.
No, it would have been more than that. It would have been
that was Tim's plan, though. He didn't want us to get because we'll get into the story about how Tim was jealous of when I came to the place where we worked together. That was probably the funniest time.
Yeah. So Greg comes in and starts working, and then he's working in like my department that I was working in, which was like test and assembly.
Sure.
And at the time I was doing more like testing triggers, and I did like customer service stuff and like installs and whatnot.
Yep.
And so Greg was working with me, and I was training him up, like getting him up to speed on things. And so, I mean, by default, we're spending a lot of time together because the dude sat like, 2 seats away from me. 100%. And Tim, which at the time he was working at the front office.
Right.
So he was kind of like up at the front, answering phone calls, dealing with customer service stuff. And so he was far away. Well, I mean, according to Greg, he was getting a little butthurt.
A little bit.
Because he couldn't hang out with the bros,
No, we were in the back doing our thing, and he was stuck up front. And like I said, we hit it off pretty quickly. Blame John. Look at Tim's comment here. Blame John and Allie.
always deflecting, dude.
We hit it off pretty well. I think that little Asian boy got a little upset. No, I mean, but yeah, it's true. I mean, we got along. I mean, there was no reason to. I mean, look at us. We're sexy bitches. Great personality. Who wouldn't want to get along? Who wouldn't want to be our friend? Dude. Yeah. We worked with some personalities.
We got the Itai, we got the Irish, and we got the Asian.
There was some strong personalities in that department we worked in. I wouldn't say in a good way. So Tanner was like, I want to take this guy. And that's where the military experience comes in, which really helped me a lot in that job and outside the job. But yeah, anyway, we've been friends ever since, obviously. And now we live 3 minutes from each other, which is really weird sometimes still, because it's like we live, but it's great. And then, go into real quick about I'm always interested. You don't have to talk about specifics, but your military background, like what infantry you were in and division and all that.
So I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington. I was in 138 Infantry Battalion, 4th Division, 2nd Infantry. And I was there from 2008 to 2013. I deployed, did a bunch of training and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Hated Washington while I was there. I think when I first got to Washington, I didn't see the sun for about 6 months.
I remember you saying
it was cloudy and rainy every single freaking day.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Army was good though. I mean, I had a good time. Met a lot of great people. Did a lot of crazy things.
Right.
Took away a lot of good training, not just physical training, like obviously the firearm stuff and like
right
physical fitness and whatnot, but a lot of just mental toughness, resiliency, being able to adapt and overcome, to put it in the gunny highway.
It's very important.
It's like one of my favorite quotes. Just adapt and overcome.
Adapt and overcome.
It got me through a lot of things. So I'm very grateful for my time in the military. Like I said, I learned a lot of things. And I've taken a lot of that with me even now.
Of course.
Company I work for now, same deal as the company we all worked for. It's firearms industry.
Right.
And I basically do the same stuff. I'm like QA, QC. I do installs, customer service stuff. I do a little bit of everything there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's
Pretty much it's the quick background. I mean, like I said, we're going to get into new stuff. So I guess if you want to get into the, I know there's so much content, but we have so many episodes to do. We want to get into some of the health scares we've had in the last year and a half, 2 years. I'll go into mine first, not because technically I'm hosting this, but it's just because there's a lot of detail. But I'll try to get through it quick, and then we'll go through your heart thing. And it was close to around the same time. Yeah. So what was it? 20? My wife would know. What year was that, honey? It was 20. It was about 2021, 2020 into 2021. I keep forgetting.
Mine was October 2019.
So mine was about.
So it was probably 2020 for you.
Probably, but yeah. So no, go ahead. Yeah, it was close to that time. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just remember it being like right after mine.
Okay, she's right. So it's 2020 into 2021. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll go into yours here. Mine was so being an overweight Italian man, loved to eat. I loved to eat, and I was very overweight for a long time. What is Tim texting me here? I'm sorry, people. Oh, never mind. I was very overweight for a long time. Even before I met you, Tanner. I was always that guy. I was like, I know I'm heavy, but I love food, and I dealt with my stress by eating, like most people do. So I got to a point where I was really heavy. I was always hovering around like that 350 to like 370 something weight range for years. Then I think, like around my mid to late 30s, I started getting, I don't even want to say it, but I will, this thing called diverticulitis, which is a colon infection and bacteria gets in there. It's horrible. I never had it before. The first time I got it, scared the living shit out of me. But anyway, not to go into that, but I got it once, cured it with antibiotics. Then I got it again maybe a year and a half later. Actually, the first time I got it, I think, or second time I got it was when we went to Prescott with you and Cassie.
Yeah, it was right after.
Right after. So that might have been the first or second time, but it was it might have been the first. It was really bad. So then it happened again, the third time, maybe 6 months later. And then I was like, okay, so this is, and then I learned it's just a reoccurring thing. Once you get it, you're always going to get it. It just stays dormant. I was like, great. So this last time you got sick, you bounced back, and then 2020 into 2021, woke up one morning, had a bad fever, went to work like an idiot with 103 fever. I was like, I'll just take some ibuprofen. It'll kill it. Craig's like, nah, dude, go home. He's like, you don't look good. I go home. I passed out in my bed for hours. Woke up with the chills, the fever. So this is also during the time of COVID at the heaviest time. The initial, sorry, I can't say that word. The coof. YouTube doesn't like me saying the C word. So we'll call it the coof, as they say. I got the coof. I thought I had the coof because I had the same exact symptoms, the chills, the fever, whatever the symptoms were at that time. The flu was also running rampant at that time. I think this was like just before the holidays. Around Christmas. Typical guy. Your future wife here just wanted to call you out. Very true. So I didn't do what I needed.
Right. She'll say the same about me when I tell her.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I basically went through this whole process of not feeling well, and instead of probably going to a doctor immediately, I just said, let's see how I feel tomorrow. And then the problem was when you get the diverticulitis, you have symptoms. You have in your colon area, you have a lot of pain. And not to get crazy, December 22nd, Jamie said that's when I got sick. Crazy thing is not to get disgusting, but you can't go to the bathroom anymore because your colon's swollen and everything just backs up. So I had to wait to get a COVID test because I thought that's what I had. I don't know how many days later it was. Jamie's going to help me a lot with this. Sorry, the coof. Jesus. Sorry, the coof. So I wanted to get tested for that thing, and that was going around, and I did, and it came back negative. Like maybe a day later, I was like, "Oh shit, it's the flu." So I think it was maybe a week of just staying dormant with this thing. Symptoms did not go away, but I didn't have the normal symptoms of what I normally would have, where I know the pain's there, I know the symptoms of how this feels. I've had it 3 times prior. December 27th. Okay, there you go. So my Christmas was brutal. I really didn't enjoy my Christmas. My parents came here for a minute. I didn't eat any food. I was in bed the whole time. I literally felt, this sounds weird, like I was having an out-of-body experience. And now that I know what happened, I kind of was. So anyway, long story short, I go to the emergency room finally because I'm like, this is not working. Nothing's helping. They get me in, they do some tests like, hey, you have diverticulitis again. I was like, oh, shit, okay. But this time I let it spread for a week through my body. So it was bad. They put me on antibiotics. Problem was in the hospital. Okay. It was a couple of days you were in the hospital during the new year. Okay. I don't know. This is what I mean. This is why I need you on the comments because I'm really stupid and old. I'm bad with time. So anyway, I'm in the hospital. Things are not going well there. They're giving me Tylenol to bring my fever down. The problem was that the antibiotics were working for the diverticulitis, but there was an undercurrent problem, another problem that was occurring that nobody knew about, and the doctors didn't tell me. Long story short, to get this done as quick as I'm rambling here, they send me home because they're like, well, we don't know why you're getting sick still, but you look better, basically. And they're like, how do you feel? I was like, listen, I think I'm good. Maybe I'm good enough to go home. I don't know. So they're like, all right, fine, we're going to discharge you. Then they discharge me. I come home, still feel like shit. They give me the antibiotics to take in pill form. I'm taking these antibiotics. Nothing's working. I'm still having fevers, hot flashes at night. Jamie there were times where I woke up 103 fever. Then I take my ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol, bring the temperature down, but I still felt clammy. So come to think of it, I think it was the week right before New Year's. I don't know, Jamie, help me out with this because I'm terrible. Right before New Year's, I get sick. I keep getting sick. So this is disgusting. And if you're sensitive to this, you don't have to listen. I was throwing up bile every night. And come to find out now, what happened was the doctors, when I was in the hospital the first time, didn't tell me that I had an abscess in my liver of about, how big was it, honey? 7 centimeters? Some high number that anytime you see abscess, see, she's talking in the comments here. Follow her, not me, as far as the time frame, because I'm stupid. So basically what happened was I had an abscess in my liver they didn't tell me about. So they sent me home, and they felt it was non-emergency, non-emergent thing. So that's what I was throwing up was not bile, it was liver jizz, I guess you want to call it, because it kept backing up.
Jizz, dude.
Jizz. So I go back to the hospital in pain on January 9th, like Jamie's saying, on January. So this is about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, or whatever, a week later, in the hospital for a 7-hour stint in the emergency room during COVID with everybody coughing around me. So I tough it out. I get in there. They do a million tests. They thought I had tuberculosis. They put me in quarantine, air-controlled rooms. It was a nightmare. And because it was heavy into COVID time, they really just didn't have enough people on staff. They didn't have enough time for me to, not that they weren't paying attention to me, but they were just focused on COVID. And I get it. It was running rampant at that time. The worst part of the whole thing here, and I mean, I don't know, at least Tanner, I don't know if you had people to come visit you or stay with you. I don't know if it was like that for you. Fuck it. I am being a victim. This is called telling a story, Tim. So anyway, it came to the point where I had a 10.3 centimeter abscess in my liver. When they finally got to the problem, I had endoscopies. It was a nightmare. And I had to do it all alone. And that's not being a victim, Tim. But when you're going through a shit like this, you want to have, and then the thing is, my wife, Jamie, works in the medical industry. She would know the questions to ask. I was all alone. All I had to do was FaceTime people. That's the only contact I have with my family for this amount of time. So it was rough. But anyway, long story short, I had to put a liver drain into my liver, drain the abscess, go on IV antibiotics, come home and do that for, 6 to 8 weeks at home. The bottom line is my doctor, I had a disease. What the hell is this called? The infectious disease doctor, who the first one was an asshole. The second one was the nice guy who cured me. And he basically told me from the images he saw, and I'm not exaggerating, Tim, these images he saw and everything, I should have died. I could have died. That abscess could have burst anytime. And there was one point when I had to go back to the hospital the second time on the 9th that I literally almost passed out in the bathroom. And I felt like Tanner, how I always talk to you about, I read these books about the afterlife and what people describe as like I was getting close. Now that I went back and read those books after what happened, I swear to God, that's what was happening to me. Like it felt like my soul was getting ready to just go and be done with, gone. So yeah, I was close to, so anyway, I got out of the hospital. I got healthy. back in May of 2021, I believe, or 2021. I finally got healthy. I got rid of my abscess, got the thing out. Shut up, Tim. I'm not embellishing anything. Just like, you embellish how tall you really are, because don't forget. So anyway, long story short, I got better. I got the drain out. My initial doctor, my infectious, wanted me to have surgery on just to get the abscess out and remove my colon, part of my colon that was infected. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't think that's an option yet. Why not wait until we get healthy? I did. And then around that time when I started getting healthy, Jamie's like, hey, you know what? You want to lose weight? Let's do a diet. You ever heard of the keto diet? I said, yeah, actually, it's really popular. Long story short, when I went into the hospital, I was 410 pounds, maybe a little more. But I remember them taking my weight when I got in, weight when I went back. So just to show you how really sick I was, I went from being 410 pounds to 340 pounds between those 2 weeks. So much weight I lost because I couldn't eat food. And then when I got out, I gained back another 24 because I was starting eating kind of regular food again. Oh, yeah, and then my wife had to shower me, by the way, because I had a liver drain and a pick for the I know Cassie would know about this, the pick drain to do the whatever. What was it for? To take my blood at home, because I had a nurse come into my house for 6 weeks. It was insane. It was a long process. Tanner knows about this because we would talk every once in a while, and it was bad. So anyway, I got better. I got on keto. Ended up losing about 145 to 150 pounds in about less than a year on the keto. So what you see this beautiful man here, it's a much larger beautiful man before. And and again, yeah, I got to put, what I'm going to, the pick line. Yeah, see, they know. Of course, the women who are in the medical industry pick. Yeah, Cassie's a little more specific because they're like Jamie and her just jumped on that real quick, didn't they? Yeah. You're right, though, Cassie. Yes. And Jamie, yes. I knew you would know. So long story short, I lost a lot of weight. And I said, I'm not going to go the surgery route. I'm going to do this naturally. Went on the keto diet. I lost a shit ton of weight. I remember the first time I saw Tanner, I maybe lost that 70 pounds at that point. We went to go look for some stuff. And he was like, wait a minute, who the fuck are you?
Dude, I didn't even
That's my friend.
He walked out of his house looking like Ichabod Crane. I'm like, his shirt looked like a circus tent just floating in the wind. I'm like, who
and you know what? How I knew I was getting better was because, so Tanner, the actual amount I have reference. I want to say I was 410 and I went down to 258 at one point. Now I have fluctuated between 258 and 263 recently. The hardest part now is losing the extra 20 pounds that I want, but I'm not getting crazy about it. Anyway, I lost all this weight. Tanner didn't recognize me. I was wearing 2 and 3X shirts when I used to wear 5. So I feel great. I do have to start exercising a little more, which I bought a rowing machine. It worked for a while, but the problem with keto is when I kept losing weight, I felt like I didn't need to work out because the food was doing it for me, the diet. That doesn't always work long term. Lurch. Nope. Yeah, I was called Lurch in high school, see? I was called Lurch in high school. I like CannoliSasquatch better. If I had that nickname back then, it would have been great. Anyway, so I know I was rambling for a long time. It's 150 pounds total, she said. There you go. There's the total. Now, I haven't weighed myself in about a month because I got tired of just, it just becomes a mental thing where it's just too much. I am still sticking to my diet. I'm not eating many carbs. I do have a cheat once in a while, but it works. I feel great. So that's my medical story, which I hope didn't bore the shit out of you people. Now, Tanner's got his. But anyway, long story short, and we always talk about this, Tanner, right? Out of crisis comes triumph. You have to suffer to learn to love and to do good things, and that's what happened. My body forced me to change. Fasting, too. I do fasting. I know Tanner kind of knows about that because I think he used to do it or still does it. I do the 16-8 fasting, which was a great way to maintain my appetite. But, one of our boy, Jordan Peterson, who I know you like, his fame, I love his line of like, in life is suffering, and out of suffering is triumph, and it's all how you handle things. I could have just gave up, said, fuck, this is my life. Thanks to the backing of my wife and support of my friends, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to change. I'm finally going to step up and change. That's why I'm doing this podcast now. Got to a point in my 40s where I'm like, you know what? I like what I do as a job, but if this can turn into something eventually, why not do it as a hobby? Why stop talking about it and actually do it? And here we are. I still don't know what I'm doing. I don't think Tanner knows what the hell he thinks I know what I'm doing, but he's sticking with me as a partner. So anyway, that's my story as far as my health scare. Tanner's got his own because he had some scary shit happen to him. I'm going to give it to you, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna Jamie, the lightning that's going on behind me right now
See
is
that?
crazy.
I got my curtains closed, but I saw that. If you get hit, then I'm sorry, man. But I'm getting your gun collection.
So yeah, hey, for sure. You can
I
have all
got
my
you.
guns.
I'll take care of it. All right, sorry.
All right, so my medical story back early, it was like early 2018. I had a couple of incidents that happened where my heart was beating kind of uncontrollably, but very shallow, if that makes sense. So like my pulse was really high,
Right.
like 220, 225, some crazy, like resting heart rate was like 220, 225,
That's scary.
like laying in bed. Like 2 times it happened, it woke me up out of my sleep. And
That's
the,
scary.
yeah, like the pulse itself was very like thready and weak.
Right.
And I would try to get up out of bed and I would get like lightheaded and I would kind of have to like lay back down and it would last for a couple of hours, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. So it was very alarming. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So being a vet, I go to the VA. Most of my medical stuff is done at the VA. So I make an appointment with my primary care provider and I go in there and I'm voicing my concerns about what was happening. And she kind of just, well, it had happened once. And I went in there and she kind of just, I don't want to say blew it off, but just kind of, well, we're not really seeing anything. Your heart rate's fine. Because again, I'm sitting here in the hospital or the doctor's office. My blood pressure is perfect. It's like 120/80. My pulse is fine. My respirations are fine. Everything's fine. So she kind of just blew it off. And I was like, well, whatever. So I left. Then a couple months later, like 4 or 5 months later, similar thing happened. Wakes me up out of my sleep. This time I was, as Cassie would put it, I was a typical guy. I didn't do anything about it because the last time I went to the doctor, she didn't do anything. So I just kind of let it go. And then the last time it happened, I was walking Cassie's grandma's dog, Zeus.
I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like I was just going for like a casual walk down the street and my heart did its thing, started beating like 225, super thready. I got lightheaded and dizzy. I like laid down like in the grass basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And I called 911. The paramedics showed up. They were like, "Oh man, your freaking heart rate's going crazy right now." So they took me to the hospital. I get to the hospital. They got it under control, and then everything was fine. Like my heart rate was fine, blood pressure was fine. So they released me that day. So after that, I immediately called my primary care physician, told her, "Hey, like I need to come in. I need to see a cardiologist. Something's going on with my heart." Because the last time I came in here, you guys didn't really do anything for me. So I'm basically demanding to see a cardiologist.
Good.
So I go, they refer me to a cardiologist. I think it was 2 days later, went to the cardiologist. They hooked me up to all these, electrocardiograph, whatever, did all these tests. And my cardiologist is like, "Hey, you're having what's called SVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia. And it's these events where like my heart would just start racing out of control."
Jesus.
And he was like, "You need to have a procedure done on your heart." So I'm like, well, okay. At the time, I'm like 36.
Right.
I walk into this cardiologist's office. There's a row of like old blue hairs sitting there. Like every person there was like over the age of 70. And then my young ass comes walking in there.
Like, hey.
Yeah, like, "Hey, what's up?" So anyway, I end up having the procedure done like a week later, and they had to go through and do an ablation on my heart, which they take these two probe things up through the veins in my groin, up into my heart, and then it goes in there and it like does all these electrical probes on all the nodes in my heart.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, so they recreate, because the point is they're trying to recreate my heart going crazy, right?
Right, of course.
And once they recreate it, like which node is causing the issue, they zap it and they burn it basically.
Just get rid of it, yeah.
Yeah, they get rid of it. So after the ablation, felt like my heart felt like crazy for about 3 or 4 days, and then started feeling a little bit better. And then I want to say it was like the 5th or the 6th day, I was hanging out at my sister's house, and I was like mounting like a small TV, like in her game room or something, up on the wall. And I felt something weird.
Right.
Like something just didn't feel right. Something felt weird. And went home, started feeling weird, started kind of having this like little bit of chest pain. And I had this really like sharp pain on my lower right side, just below like my rib cage, like just above my kidney, like below my rib cage, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't lay down because it hurt too bad. And I couldn't sleep for like 2 or 3 days. I had a low-grade fever, and just I kept pushing. Like, Cassie's gonna friggin' lose her mind because I kept pushing it off and pushing it off. Like, no, I'm okay. Like, I'll be all right. Kind of like you were thinking. You thought like, oh, it was COVID. I
just thought it was something minor.
You know, yeah, like it's just some kind of illness. Like I got the chills. I'm kind of sweaty. Cool and clammy feeling, whatever. So then finally, she's like, it could be something pretty serious. You should probably get checked out. So
of course.
Her being a nurse, I'm like, well, at the time, yeah, she was in nursing school.
I remember, yeah.
And I was like, you know what? She's about to be, she's a nurse.
She knows what she's talking about.
She knows what she's talking about. So I might as well just go. So I went back to the hospital that did the procedure on my heart, and I told them what was going on, and they took a MRI or whatever it was, and they found that I had a blood clot in my lung. Oof. And at the time, I didn't really, like, I kind of just blew it off. I was kind of like, not blew it off, but I just was like, oh, hey, this, blood clot in my lung, whatever. Yeah, see,
sorry, I had to put that on there. I thought that was hilarious. There you go. She just yelled at me too.
Yeah, anytime you have a fever after like surgery, it's an emergency. Yeah, she's right. Like, I didn't make that connection. So
sorry, Cassie.
So I'm in the hospital, and Cassie's with me. I'm not feeling good. The doc, and this was during like at the early onset of like the COVID stuff.
See, yeah, same thing.
So like they were kind of treating me like, this might be COVID, and then we don't know. Yeah, and I mean, fair enough, whatever.
Sure.
So I'm in the hospital. They find this, I couldn't even like lay down in like the MRI machine because my back was just like spasmed out of control.
Yeah.
And what was happening was, the way the doctor explained it to me was, the blood clot was so far down at the bottom of my lung that every time I breathed in, it was causing irritation to my diaphragm.
Ouch.
And because of that, it was sending like electrical shocks to the muscle,
your muscle,
my diaphragm. So like I had to take like really short breaths,
and
it was a hot mess. So then that night, Cassie wasn't allowed to stay. So
that must have been scary.
I was kind of just chilling, laying. I couldn't lay down in the bed, so I was kind of like laying, like seated upright,
like
trying to relax, and I couldn't, and it just freaking hurt. And then as the night was like wearing on, I was having this, like my back was spasming out of control, and it was just a hot freaking mess. So then they put me on blood thinners. It went on for months.
I remember it was a long time.
Yeah. So long story short, like I said earlier, I kind of downplayed it a little bit because I didn't really know the severity of what a pulmonary embolism is. And, people die from those every day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's bad.
And there's a guy at my work, I was telling him the story, and I was like, yeah, I had a blood clot in my lung, pulmonary embolism, whatever. Oh, yeah. And Cassie was pregnant at the time. So like, it was just a hot mess. And so anyway, the guy at my work, he was like, oh, he's like, you're lucky to be, well, first Cassie said, I'm lucky to be alive, because people die all the time from pulmonary embolisms. And then when I told the guy at work this story, he's like, that's how my dad died.
Oh,
like his dad passed away from a pulmonary embolism. I'm like, geez, okay. So maybe my wife is smart, maybe I should listen to her. But yeah, and ever since, kind of like you said, ever since that scare, it's kind of made me like reevaluate things. Like I don't drink caffeine at all. anything that like affects my heart at all is just
Yeah.
non-existent.
Yeah, it's true. It's no big deal. It's like he caught a cold.
Kind of cold, no big deal.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I remember when I had my infection, my heart rate was getting up into the 180s, 190s, and they couldn't figure it out. Instead of testing for it and finding out what the cause was, just give him some Tylenol and send him home. But yeah, it's scary, dude. It does make you evaluate. It's one of those things that I mean, it's cliched, but it comes back every once in a while where I hear people have that D word. I'm not going to say that I had, or they're in the hospital for an abscess or liver issues. It's just normal and natural. Every time I hear the word liver or colon, it just boom, that spidey sense goes off. And I'm like, oh God, I remember that time. That was real. And again, you get through it and you just hope for the best and you hope that you learn from it. I mean, yeah, it changed my life for sure, that whole thing. And I know we talked about it, did things for you, and you had a kid on the way. It was scary. It's scary shit, man. Life is really, really is precious. I mean, I know it's we take advantage of it, but it does make you evaluate. And you think, we're young. I used to eat the way I did because I was like, I'm young. My body will bounce back. No, my body did not. My body bounced because I was like a bowling ball, a beach ball, and then when you threw me around, my stomach. I mean, but when you see the results and you start to feel better, you start to take things for granted a little bit again after a while because you're like, I'm good. Yeah, I mean, going through health scare is really scary shit.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like, I mean, I've been a lifetime athlete, right? Like grew up playing sports
and
training in the military, running, working out. I was really big into powerlifting. Like right before the whole heart thing happened.
I remember that.
I mean, all of a sudden you go from being this like super athletic, always working out person to like, I'm afraid to go for a bike ride because my heart is just going to do something crazy.
Explode, basically. It's I know. And then for a while, even with food stuff, I was terrified to eat certain foods. If I saw a carb come near me, I was like, oh God, I'm going to die. I'm going to gain weight. And I'm a little better about that now. I've learned to adapt to just eating. Like if I want something, just to have one thing of it, and then I'm done. I get the fix, I get my fill of it, and I'm done. Like my daughter likes to eat pizza. I have a small bite. It's like, all right, I got the taste, right? I got the piece of food. I'm good. Doesn't mean I'll never eat certain foods again, but I am still kind of weary of that. But yeah, anytime I eat red meat seems to be my trigger. And it wasn't this last time, but anything red meat, I actually haven't. I don't think I've eaten red meat in almost 3 years now, almost. Yeah. Which is weird. I know people are going to think I'm crazy because red meat's red meat, right? But I still eat chicken, I eat turkey. But I don't know. I think it's a mental thing. You know how like you could eat certain foods and you get food poisoning. Like Jamie doesn't eat. Well, before she became a vegetarian, she used to like pulled pork years ago. She had food poisoning off of it and couldn't look at it after that.
Yep.
So
I had that with macaroni and cheese.
Well, you still eat macaroni and cheese though.
Yeah, but for like years, I couldn't touch it.
Like, what is that bile? What is this crap? Beef sticks. I do eat beef sticks. See, she said it. I do, but they're small. They're small. They're like this big.
They're like Tim size.
Well, because we all know that. Yes. Exactly. I can't get his video to play for some reason. I don't know what I did. I tried. It's just not working. I will get that video on this show eventually. I'll use it as my outro eventually. Yeah, it's some scary shit, man. But when you go through a health issue, it's crazy. But we're here. We're doing better than ever. We're busy. Tanner's got a kid of his own. Another
on the way.
We're going to need this to work for both of us financially eventually, right? Get that ad revenue. People, please view this so we can get ad revenue. Please. No, you guys are doing good. But yeah, it's crazy to think where we were years ago and here we are now. And then who the hell, no God knows where we're going to be in 20 years or even 10 years. So really, you got to live every day like it's really just, it is what it is. Every day, it's the best way you can. So I wanted to do that with the show. Uh-oh.
The wifey
home? Oh, I'm sorry. Wifey. Hello, Cassie.
Hi, Greg.
Hello. Hello. I guess we're kind of going over. I really didn't have a set time frame. So you wherever you want to bounce, dude. I'm here for a little bit longer, but I don't want to keep you from your family duties, Tanner. I know you don't get to see her that much on the weekend, so
Yeah, she's non-existent on the weekends. Well,
yeah,
just this weekend.
Right, disappearing. Well, she's working. Not like she's working the streets. She's working.
Working at the hospital.
That's what I meant. Yeah, she's got a real job.
She's laughing, dude. She's
real
laughing.
good job. Yeah. But whatever pays the bills, right?
OnlyFans, bro. OnlyFans.
You know what? Listen, I'm gonna need a new PC soon. So my wife, I told Jamie, you gotta get on it. You gotta get on it. Just for a month, right? Just to get a month. If you do well, you could buy a whole new house. Expand build a studio eventually, maybe with a good OnlyFans account. I don't know. It's possible. Real quick before I know I'll let you go here soon or whenever you want to go. It's up to you. But I want to now that we're back onto the pop culture train. So you heard about our backstory a little bit, some health issues. So I know you watched Game of Thrones right after I did.
Yes.
You binged it. You liked it. I think we pretty much had the same opinion on the last season, just being straight garbage.
It was pretty bad.
Here is the newest headline. And so I'm like, I remember reading this and I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, well, it's modern day Game of Thrones. But this is actually based off source material. George R.R. Martin's, I guess, House of Blood or whatever the hell the name of the book was. This is like a prequel. So they actually literally go in here and say that they race swapped people and gender swapped people. And in the book, it's specific to the type of people that these race swaps happen with. The pale skin, purple or green eyes. Here we go. Raven colored hair. Light skin, pale skin, specific to that, and they race swap for inclusivity. They wanted to be inclusive. They wanted to do all this bullshit for a fantasy world. So this is one of the stories I was telling you about, man. Look at this picture. These are not supposed to be race swap characters. Now, again, you want to make your own characters in your own stories, race swap, gender swap, fine. And again, I don't blame the actors, but it's just another thing. It just drives me nuts because I was on the fence about watching this show. And I know people are going to say, well, you're not going to watch it because of that. I'm like, yeah, because when you put this stuff here in front of storytelling, it tells me the show is going to be bad. And then you're living off of the name of Game of Thrones. And did you hear about they want to do a Jon Snow sequel? Did you hear about this?
No.
They're literally talking about, I think I don't even think they have a writer or director for this yet, but they want to do a Jon Snow sequel, and he agreed to it because what else is he doing, right? Besides making the Eternal. Was that Rolling Thunder over there?
Yeah, that was loud as shit.
Oh, okay, well, it was nice knowing you, Tanner. You're going to have a lightning bolt. Thor's going to come and stick his thunderbolt up your ass for a second.
Damn, dude, that was loud as shit.
That was loud. I heard that. God, that was scary. Yeah. So, what the hell was I talking about again? I lost my train of thought.
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow. They want to make a Jon Snow sneak, and he's willing to come back because let's face it, the guy. What else is he doing, right? Kyle Harrington, I think his name is, and then all the other Kit Harrington. See, God, dude, names and time frames are not my thing. And then you got all the other characters from the show. So this would basically be a continuation of the end of Game of Thrones, and all the other characters like, oh yeah, we'll come back. When during the show they all wanted to leave, and that's why they ended the show because they thought they were going to have these huge careers, and they never did. This is all just to fix season 8 and how bad that was. That's why they're going to make a Jon Snow show.
I could see that because they're
going to try to correct it. The problem is the audience. Will the audience come back? Some people will. But after seeing shit like this, and HBO is going to do this based off no books. I think they're still waiting for the last book from George R.R. Martin, which he's taken like 42 years to write. It just turns me off for the same reason that most of this shit turns me off on. And you can say what you want. You're racist. You're misogynist. It's like, no, stick to the material or don't make it at all. What is the point of this?
Right.
It's just not natural. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
if you are going to make something like this, right? Let's say, hey, we want to make this a little more, inclusive. You want to use the buzzwords, fine. But like you said, don't make it off of the source material. If the story has already been written, if the characters have already been explained,
right.
Same with The Witcher. Like, we know what these characters look like. So if you want something in the same universe, right? Like, oh, hey, we're going to make like a Game of Thrones spinoff. Cool. It's not really a story based on anything, but it's based on the lore, right?
Lore of the Game of Thrones, yeah.
Now, let's say there's a whole nother tribe, a whole nother group, a whole nother of all different races. Fine. That's cool. I don't care. But if you have these characters that are already established, like you read off earlier, fair skin, raven colored hair,
purple eyes or something.
It's like, okay, like visually, I know what these characters are supposed to look like.
Right.
And when they don't look like it, it takes away from it.
Yeah, it's just really weird to me. And the push for it is crazy, but they never work because, and then the fans are called. I remember when this Obi-Wan show was coming out on Disney. They literally got ahead of the show and said, well, if you don't like this other Reva, I think her name was, if you don't like this Inquisitor or Reva, I mean, immediately before the show started, they were like, oh, you're going to face racism and backlash because of this, because you're black. And then it just set the tone for the whole show. Like, for them to get Disney to get ahead of that so fast and make that a point of interest tells me, number one, they didn't have any faith in the show. Now, was the show popular? Sure. You had Darth Vader. You had Hayden Christensen come back. I didn't see the show. I just watched a lot of reviews saying how shitty the show was and the writing. They changed the lore, Tanner. I mean, if you go back and research this, they made Princess Leia friends with Obi-Wan when she was a 10-year-old girl, but yet in The New Hope, this is the biggest point of contention. When she finds out that he dies, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Luke. All right, next thing. It's like no emotion, but in this show, and there was some creepy like groomer shit going on in this show where Obi-Wan would tell her at the end. I saw clips of this, like, oh, don't tell anybody about our friendship, little, like, really like weird. They changed lore. They had people, Tanner, stabbed with lightsabers in the chest multiple times and live.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. Darth Vader became a moron. Obi-Wan was helpless, and it was saved by the whammon, as they say, the whammon constantly. It was a mess, and people bought it. Most average consumers bought it because you saw Hayden Christensen fighting, you saw Darth Vader fighting Obi-Wan. It was a fucking nightmare. Real quick, I'll let you go here. I wanted to show you this. I know I made a video about this yesterday, about this dude who started his own comic book universe. I think I sent you his trailer.
Yes, you did.
Dude, in 6 days, he's made $2.3 million off his campaign.
Outstanding.
So this is one of the stories. This guy, Eric July, Young Rippa is called on YouTube, but Rippaverse, he created this by himself for years, put his own money up, $200,000 of his own money, warehouses, employees. And he's getting called out for this by a specific political leaning group who claims to be inclusive, but they're not. The guy did the work. He's a libertarian, doesn't go woke, nothing woke about his character. And this is exactly what everybody says they want, right? They want black people to have equity, and they want black people to have their own businesses. Well, this guy creates it, and then he's called an Uncle Tom on Twitter. And
of course,
even his own people in his own race have been knocking him. He did a whole video about this, 20-minute video today about Fox News covered this, and the New York Post is covering this because it's such a big deal. This is where his phrase is, we're going to win. We will win, meaning the good guys are going to win. The woke people are going to get left behind. This is the way it happens. And I know you're a comic book fan. I know you have a past with comic books. And if you're a comic book fan, no matter what this guy is, this is great to see for an industry that's just saturated with garbage right now. And to create a universe, I don't know if it's good. I'll find out eventually. But to see this number in only 6 days tells me that people are hungry for non-woke bullshit and no politics in their entertainment. Right? I mean, how other way can you put that? And this guy's success is ridiculous. And he did it all on his own. He owes nobody anything. He was not crowdfunded for this. He put up his own money, and these are just generous donations back to him to help grow the business. It's incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this is what the comic book industry needs.
This is what every industry needs.
What's happening right now is absurd.
Yeah.
Like, this can be a topic for another day, but some of the things they're doing with like Superman's son,
Spider-Man now.
Spider-Man.
Oh, they made Batman the new commissioner a transgender Latinx. Yeah, that's in one of the new Batman comics. And again, like I said, I don't have a problem if you want to make your own comics. Don't take source material from other comics and turn it into your own shit.
Exactly.
Because you have ideals, political ideals, or a vision. But yeah, this is great. I hope he does well with this. I see it being very successful. I mean, he's got so many things down the works, but I mean, stuff like, but then, just because of who he is and, his affiliations and his non-political affiliations, he's getting called out for it by people. And he's been called out by white people called the N-word on Twitter. They've seen it. And these are the people that are supposed to be the inclusive people. Uncle Tom, you're this word and that word. It's like, Jesus, man. This is good news. Yeah, it's basically it. That's all I got for the day. I know you got to go because the wifey's home. So we'll have a comic book episode maybe next, like entertainment, like what's your favorite comic books? We'll go into a whole thing about that. Movies. We're going to kind of switch this up every once in a while. It's not going to. Today was more of get to know us, why we almost died and survived. Right? We should write a book. Little background and then just some woke nonsense. And again, I don't want to leave people out of things, but just leave shit alone. That's all I got to say. Basically, that's it. You know how to follow me, CannoliSasquatch on YouTube. You have my Twitter handle at CannoliSasquatch. I'm sorry, at CannoliSas98 on Twitter. Tanner is not on social media, thank God.
Nope.
I don't blame him. I only have the Twitter account basically just for this and to yell at people sometimes about this shit. That's basically it. So that was episode number 2. We'll be back sometime soon, maybe next week. I'll talk to Tanner, get a schedule down. I might make a few appearances myself. There was a big thunder right now, so the power's probably going to go out. Tanner, go enjoy your family. Kiss the baby goodnight. Give Cassie a hug for me. I will talk to you soon, and we'll be back probably sometime early next week. I'll see you soon. And follow my channel.
Yeah, man. Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to let Tanner walk out. I'm going to end this here in a minute. It was a pretty good show. I'm still trying to get the feel of this whole thing down. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but we're trying. I think we're getting a little better. I am going to go ahead and do a hard out. And basically, if you like this video, hit the like button, share it with someone, hit the notification bell on my channel and on this video, and we will talk to you later.